It's difficult to say what stood out the most. Was it the rubble? Rubble so far and deep that you'd think that's all there was. Place looked like a bomb went off. Was it the same disheveled look of shock amongst the people? Imagine, an entire country dealing with a common and deep trauma. A population with PTSD. It's hard to picture a place more unprepared for such a large natural disaster. Nepal is a developing country that most people only know because of Mount Everest and Sherpas. Located north of India, west of China, Nepal has a history marked by upheaval and inequality. On April 25th, there was an earthquake 80 kilometers northwest of Kathmandu, which is the capital. The magnitude was between 7.8 and 8.1. More than 8,000 people were killed, and over 20,000 were estimated injured. The magnitude of the damage is in the billions of dollars. But those are just statistics, and no one gives a fuck about statistics.
Initially, when the earthquake took place, I was still the editor-in-chief of Nagarik Daily, a national daily. And I had a column at the time, every Sundays. I was on my bed and I was writing, but suddenly the house started, moving like anything. And we were so terrorized and we ran out of the house. And then the thing continued for about more than an hour. It was like the shocks and after shocks and after shocks, and we were all terrified. But I had my job to do. After about an hour, I took my car, I went to the office. We started, doing story on the earthquake. So that's how it went on the very first day. And after like 1 hour or 2 hours, we started getting information. People were really confused. Though we were pretty much aware of the fact that we are living on the earthquake-prone zone, we were knowing it. So we were not much prepared for that kind of event. Government was confused, like everybody was confused. They didn't know what to do. It was a chaotic situation, and we were trying to understand what had happened, how many people have died, where have they died, and where to keep them, where to treat them, all those things. And the bodies were being flown from remote parts of the country, and then They were being brought to the hospitals, and hospitals didn't have enough space for those bodies. It was like everywhere you go, it was like a destruction.
When the tremor subsided, I was looking at the outside of the window, and I could see that one of the small fountain, the water of that fountain, it was around 7 feet deep, but it was almost completely empty because of the shock waves. And then I realized the compound has been also collapsed. At that time, I was thinking about my team, whether this building will remain intact. Immediately, people started rushing in to come inside our compound. Again, the tremor hit. We sat down. I asked the battalion in police headquarters to check whether the damage has done something and whether we need to rescue somebody in a vicinity of ours. The officers, police officers, those who were in uniform, those who were not in uniform, they rushed out to outside of the gate, and they also rescued people who were trapped by falling off this compound wall, one of the vehicle which was hit, and they rescued the people and they sent to the hospital. Unfortunately, 2 people inside that vehicle died. One of our officers, his name is Gautam, whose son was just rushing when the tremor hit. It was a very sad incident that another person's building collapsed and he died in that incident. But immediately after, even though his son was died in that incident, he just completing this ritual, he returned to the duty and started saving lives, started taking out of the dead bodies from those collapsed structure and rescue people.
While the devastation was immense and immediate, it wasn't a fatal blow for the country. We wondered, what happened next? Every level of government was unprepared. Did the country descend into lawlessness and violence, like so many others after a natural disaster? We spoke to the Deputy Inspector General of the Nepal Police about the earthquake and police response.
Earthquake doesn't happen every day. Maybe the small amount of tremor you may feel maybe for 100 days or a little bit more, but it is not going to happen every day and every time. I think I don't have anything. I'm a police officer of Nepal Police. At present, I'm a Deputy Inspector General of Police in Nepal Police. Immediately after earthquake, so many shelters, temporary shelters were established by the people. They feared that their house is not properly safe. So they were living on streets, living on open area. So what we did from the very beginning, there should be security for those people to their houses as well, because there might be some burglary cases and their valuables could be stolen. We patrol the shelters, we patrol the streets, and we patrol the houses area. So there were not significant amount of increase in any of the crime. We were trying to provide every possible way to help, like Twitter, which were providing information, and we are also providing information to them, what need to be done, what you can do, what we are doing, and what is the situation when it hit. At that time, we immediately tweeted through our official Twitter page that people should remain out, they should go to the open place, don't congest the road we're trying to maintain. And this was also, this tweet was also shown by the CNN. So immediately we were trying to assist in every manner which we can assist. So many issues were handled so efficiently with the limited resources. Definitely, people are still suffering with the effect of earthquake, but you can see how quickly it has been returning. Though the structure may not be resilient, but people are resilient. They know that life goes on, and they are trying to rebuild their life, rebuild their profession, even they are trying to rebuild their houses. Nepal needs not assistance, not in amount of money, but assistance in amount of rebuilding their confidence so that they could change the situation. Nepal needs assurance from other countries also that Nepal is taken care of. In every this kind of major incident, especially the earthquake incident, and in such a big scale, identifying of the dead bodies is a major issue. But Nepal police, together with other agencies, work very efficiently and effectively to identify dead bodies. One baby was not identified, and then what we did, we washed the clothes of that baby. And then parents were able to identify that baby who was hit by the crumbled buildings, and they were able to take. So only till date, only 13 dead bodies are not being identified. Can you imagine this kind of major incident? It could be a major issue, but it was handled very properly. There is still room for improvement for how we react in that situation. Society, not only the police, not only the security personnel, but also make society more resilient, how they should act in those situations.
There was something we kept running into from the day we landed. It didn't matter who we were interacting with. International aid workers, government officials, taxi drivers. Everywhere we saw it, and the marks it left. Nepal is ranked 139 out of 176 countries according to the Corruption Index. Pratik Pradhan is a Harvard-educated businessman and journalist who now serves as chief press advisor to the Prime Minister of Nepal. Regarded as one of the country's top intellectuals, we sat with him and had an unusually candid discussion about corruption in Nepal. Mr. Pradhan asked that we indicate that the views he expresses are strictly his own and not that of the government of Nepal.
Situation is not so good. Though we have seen that the Kathmandu is not much destroyed, but Kathmandu is not the whole country. The country is pretty big, and the affected areas is like 15 districts, and more than 500 houses have been destroyed, and millions of people have been displaced. They don't have their living place. So it's obviously Nepal alone cannot handle all these problems, and we have different kinds of problems. Like the terrains, the geographical terrain is pretty difficult. People, they are not very much aware of their well-being itself. They don't know how to handle their problems by themselves, and then we don't have many industries to get those materials for rebuilding and all. So there are many problems, and people don't have much money to rebuild their houses because building one house for a family is a big thing for people, and now suddenly it has fallen off, and so people are living in seeds. So obviously the need is pretty big, and Nepal government has done one post-disaster needs assessment report, and the report says that Nepal needs like 600 billion rupees 600 billion rupees to reconstruct ourselves. And that is a big amount of money for a country like Nepal. And we are very much hopeful that the whole world who are looking into us, looking at us, who knows our problem, and all the bilateral, multilateral, and all our friends, they are willing to help us. They have helped us a lot. Immediately after the earthquake, like people didn't know what to do. Government didn't have many equipment to reach to the remote parts of the country, you know. At that time, like the NGOs, INGOs, bilateral, multilateral donors, they did a lot. We should acknowledge whatever they have done. So, but it's not that we have overcome the issue. It's not at all overcome. You know, the issue is still there. The people are still not being able to make transitional houses for them. We need to make transitional houses for the people. Of course, for immediate relief, for 7 days or 10 days, we had like tents, but after that, we needed something. See, Nepal has been getting support from NGOs, INGOs for a long period of time. From like 1950s, we have started getting support from donor countries. We have many big donors like India, China, Japan, Germany, USA, UK, and all these countries. And the INGOs, you know, are basically from those countries only. They are also working on this, like major UN agencies are there, you know, multilateral agencies like ADB and World Bank are there. They have been working in the development of this country. So suddenly after the earthquake, we cannot say that, okay, we don't need anybody. We of course need more of them. We need more of them. But the issue out here is that, like in the name of Nepalese people, the whole world is trying to donate us. The whole world is trying to help us. The only concern of the government, I believe, is that whatever money is being generated, whatever money is being donated, we want most of that to be spent to the affected people. And as we have seen, as we have heard, we know so much that in such a situation, what happens? Most of the money that is collected is spent on their overheads, on their administrative costs, on the transportation, on everything, air tickets, and on their consultants and all. What we are trying to tell to those people is try to cut down on those things. If you don't need many consultants, don't bring them. If you don't need many foreign employees, don't put them here. It's not that we don't want their services, but we want more and more resources to be spent on the needy people, on the affected people. That is the only concern Nepal has shown until now. So I hope even the NGOs and INGOs, they have understood what we are trying to tell them. We are not trying to tell them not to work. We are not trying to tell them go out of the country. We are not saying anything like that. We're just saying that please try to invest more. Just don't spend like 40, 50, 60% on those other things. Try to spend like 80, 90% of the resources that we are getting, that you are supporting yourself. We are not saying that it's our money. It's your money, your people's money. On the issues of the bilateral donors, it is their taxpayers' money, and those taxpayers, they want that money to be spent on the affected people. Those who really need it. We have to understand that the fact is there is corruption in the country, and we have to control it, and we are working on it. But there are leakages everywhere, like in transportation, maybe on the purchase procurement of the goods. There are leakages. I cannot deny the whole corruption thing issue, but I hope the corruption would be controlled during this process of rehabilitation and reconstruction of the country. Nepalese people, they also need to learn to work and earn for themselves. If they work for you, if they let you have their rooms for a night and get money, that is something that gives the kind of a confidence to them. And they learn to make money, they learn to work, they learn to reproduce whatever they have. But the problem out here is that more and more donors, they are trying to make people more dependent on the donations, more dependent on the supports. That is not necessary, I believe. Obviously, for a certain period of time, when the natural calamity of this magnitude hits the country, everybody would need support. Even when the Katrina hit the United States, they needed support. Local people needed support. But that should not continue forever. We have to come up with an ideas to bring them back to whatever they were doing, first of all, and then work more. And for that, and let Nepali feel proud that they are doing business and they are just not begging for the money and for support.
On June 16th, we flew via helicopter to the village of Balgaon in the Sindhu-Palchak district. From on high, you could see clearly. The entire village was flattened. The villagers gathered to greet us and offered us tea. When we asked what happened since the earthquake, they told us that we were the first people they had seen. The road to their village had been damaged. No aid agency or government officials had made their way thus far. The village was out of food, and the pipes from the well where they gathered water were broken. Several of the villagers were injured and in need of urgent medical attention. We spoke to one of the local leaders.
अब यो गाउँको लागि सहयोग चाहिन्छ किनभने भएको अन्न पात जति सबै अब पुरिहाल्यो अब पैसा भने पनि छैन यो गाउँ एउटा विकट सिन्धुपाल्चोक जिल्लाको 3 नम्बर क्षेत्र विकट मानिने बराउ गाविसको बोलगाउँ भनेर चिनिन्छ पनि र यो गाउँमा अब सबैले प्राय घर बनाइसकेको थियो अब भत्कियो अब सरकारले दिने त भन्छन् पैसा 15,000 पनि त्यो पनि पछि कट्ट गरी दिने भन्छन् तर यसको के कुनै त्यो ठेगान छैन तर यो गाउँमा अझै त्यस्तो केही सङ्घ संस्था आयो भने त्यस्तै घर बनाइदिन केही त्यस्तो आइयो भने हामी त्यसमा चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ सुरुको दिनमा जो कोहीले अब चामल निकाल्न सकेन केही निकाल्न सकेन खानेपानी केही भएन अब जसको घरमा छ त्यसको घरबाट निकालेर सबै 2-3 दिनसम्म मिलाएर चाहिँ पकाएर खाइयो र एक दिन भोकै पनि सुतियो
People were still being helped, and others still wanted to help. There were still some things worth saving. Nepal is more than a poor country which suffered a tragedy. Nepal is a place of great adventure, peace and kindness. Bordering India and Tibet has mingled Hindu and Buddhist influences. The Nepalese way of life is gentle, with particular emphasis made on caring for one another. Nepal is stunning. It's spiritual and moving. We came because we received so much from this country as frequent travelers. It gave us some of the happiest moments of our lives. And now was its time of need. We journeyed closer to the epicenter. Langtang. Once a popular trekking destination known for its tea houses, now the only thing it was abundant in was tragedy. We hoped that there might be people there who needed our help. But once we landed, everything became clear, never to be forgotten. Sham Giri is a 28-year-old teacher whom we've known for 7 years. Bright and affable, Sham looks after his family of 7 by working as a tour guide. After much discussion, we asked Sham to take us to his home in Tukucha.
If I have to build a one-story building, then I need like, for now it's like $15,000. It's like 15 lakh rupees. If you have land, then we do have land to build that. So it would take me to earn that money would probably take like 7-8 years. So we have to be on our blood and bone. Slowly. The only thing you can see is one room, and which is badly damaged too. You can see the lights from there, so it's broken. I was married before 2 months. We had 2 big bedrooms. That time also a lot of guests have slept here. We have used muds and stones to build this house, and this house is built by my mom and dad when they got married, and then they built by themselves. So it's about like 30 years old. That's all I can show you from here. So on the second floor is my bedroom, but now it's also broken down. On the up of this, my newly wedded wife and I used to sleep. So now we can go up. It's very risky. नचलाऊ दाइ त्यहाँ नचलाऊ. So this is the second floor of my house. You can feel pretty safe to be here, I guess. So I had photos before the earthquake of my house. So it was like this 3-story building, same like this. And this is the second floor. Pretty soon our monsoon would start, and then we want to protect whatever we have left. Be careful. So that was my bedroom. It's also broken down very badly. And we had another tin roof shelter over here, and we used to put like a lot of things under that part also.
Sham, was anybody hurt in during the earthquake with your family?
Luckily there was nobody hurt, but they were very careful. That was the Saturday afternoon, and my brother and my father, dad, and everybody just got back from the field, and at around like 12 noon, so they just came back from the field working and down, and then when they start having lunch, normally we Nepalese people eat during like 10-11 a.m. It's a big meal. So when they start, they just trying to serve food and start eating, and my brother and dad felt earthquake, and they very quickly run outside. When they were just on the courtyard, then the whole house fell down. That's what happened. And I was at Bauddha.
It's okay, Sham, take your time. You were at Gorkha.
With the guest. And I was in a tour, and when I feel also the very bad earthquake, but I was in the safe area. As I'm the Chinese tour guide and I do, I'm also an English tour guide, but that time I had Chinese guest with me, and I was in a very safe area. But and the earthquake was so big, and then after I tried to call my home, because I know my home is not strong enough. And then I tried for like 10-15 minutes, then I could call to, I have able to call my dad, and I heard that everybody is safe, which is a very big news for me. And that day every road was blocked, so I could not make my trip to home. So I somehow slept some friends' tent at that time at Kathmandu, and then the day after I came to my home. Somehow I could come, and then when I see my home, I wish I could cry a lot. But that time everybody was in very shock, so I could not show my emotion, as everybody is lie on me. I love it.
I love you. It's okay. It's alright. Don't worry about it.
And I put some status on my Facebook, as I'm very pissed off with the government and everything, and the only hope is Nikhil sir said, Sam, I'm there to help you, don't worry. And then he sent some money to me, and then with that money I bought the tent. That time we don't have the tin, and we were on the tent that some neighbors gave us, and then Nikhil sir gave me some money, and then I bought the tent. And the next day there was big rain, and the tent is not enough to protect my family, and then he again sent me money, and then with that money I bought the tin. And 2 months later government provided us 1 kg of rice and some biscuits. That's all they gave us. And I'm right now, we built our tin roof with the money the Nikhil sir gave me.
It's okay. Alright, that's enough, guys.
Okay.
We leave you as we feel, conflicted and unsure. Nepal is a beautiful and tragic setting. It's beautiful in its humanity, culture, and scenery. It's tragic in its selfishness and corruption. By the time you watch this, the world will have forgotten about the earthquakes in Nepal. If you're wondering what you could do or what Nepal needs, the only thing we can tell you is come and find out for yourself.